This content is a work of fiction inspired by regional folklore, urban legends, cultural storytelling traditions, and anecdotal reports submitted online. While presented in a documentary narrative format for immersion and entertainment, no claims are made regarding the factual accuracy of the events described. Join the Red Sky Collective, subscribe, like, and activate notifications so you're among the first to receive our next classified case file.
What if an entire civilization vanished? Not because it never existed, but because someone decided the world should forget it ever did? Maps exist. Architecture exists. But the official story doesn't. There is a civilization that appears on maps. A civilization that appears in political records, in atlases, in diplomatic documentation. And then, it disappears. Not because it fell. Not because it collapsed. Not because it was conquered. But because someone decided the world should forget that it had ever existed. For centuries, it was there. It had a name. Grand Tartaria. Today, academia says it never existed as a real state. They say it was just a geographical reference. A misunderstanding. A label for uncivilized land. But the records resist dying. This is not a legend. This is not folklore. This is a war against memory. Welcome to Red Sky Collective. Fade. Low hum audio. Classified stamp. Civilizations collapse. Empires fall. Nations fracture. But when they do, they leave scars. Political records. Architecture. Cultural memory. Military logs. But Tartaria does something very different. It fades cleanly. Almost surgically. Like someone edited history. Like a careful removal. A selective deletion. A global map update. That nobody voted for. Suddenly, books stop mentioning it. Universities ignore it. Academia begins ridiculing anyone who questions it. It doesn't disappear naturally. It gets buried. Systematically. Deliberately. Professionally. If Tartaria never existed, then why does the world look like it did? Enormous monumental architecture appears around the world within suspiciously short time spans. Colossal government-style buildings. Gigantic archways. Impossible domes. Massive engineered capitals. Perfect stone symmetry. Electric systems implied before electricity. Civilizations without access to modern technology suddenly build like Rome. Then stop. No development curve. No gradual evolution. Just instant grandeur. Then silence. Cities with structures that look too advanced. Too engineered. Too mathematically perfect. For societies that supposedly had limited capability. The official answer? People just built big buildings. But then, why do so many of these buildings appear disconnected from their supposed creators? Why is authorship unclear? Why do urban development records not match the engineering scale? Why do so many of them look like they belong to the same civilization, but are spread across the world? There is another piece to this forbidden puzzle. A disturbing hypothesis. Cities around the world where first floors are underground. Doors buried halfway up walls. Windows below ground level. Entrances covered in soil. Not isolated cases. Not rare accidents. Repeated. Patterned. Worldwide. Something buried cities. Not completely. Just enough to reset them. And then the timeline changes. Populations shift. Children replaced adults in mass relocation waves. Orphan trains appear. New civil identities form. Urban resets. Official history shrugs and says, coincidence. But documents and architecture refuse to align. This isn't mythology. This is material reality. Something happened. Something big enough to bury cities. Something powerful enough to require rewriting civilization afterward. Official narrative. Nothing happened. Suppressed narrative. Something erased the world. History is written by the victors. But erased history is written by something else. Libraries burned. Documents sealed. Academic reputation destroyed at the hint of questioning. Ad hominem discrediting. Research shut down. Not debated. Not disproven. Shut down. Historically, this is the pattern of classified narratives, not academic dialogue. When truth is harmless, it is allowed. When truth is inconvenient, it is debated. But when truth threatens power, it is eliminated. Has Tartaria become dangerous knowledge? Or simply inconvenient mythology? And who decides? Who is the steward of our memory? Who grants permission to remember? We do not claim certainty. We present possibilities. Theory 1: Nothing extraordinary happened. Tartaria was a misunderstood geographic term. Maps were symbolic. Architecture coincidence. Buried floors urban development quirks. This is the safe truth. The comfortable truth. The officially accepted one. Theory 2: A lost civilization absorbed. Tartaria existed. It was conquered. Its identity erased. Assimilated and reclassified. Similar to erased cultures in history. Silenced for political convenience. History doesn't like unresolved powers. Theory 3: The forbidden scenario. There was a civilization. It possessed an advanced level of knowledge and engineering. Something catastrophic happened. A war. A reset. A global geological event. Or something else. And history was rebuilt. Records edited. Humanity reissued. A controlled restart. A narrative reinstall. A memory purge. The communist erasure hypothesis. And there is still one more theory, one that connects the fall of Tartaria not just to nature, not just to empire, but to ideology itself. According to this hypothesis, when the communist revolutions reshaped Eurasia in the early 20th century, they did not simply seize land, governments, and economies, they seized something far more powerful. They seized history. Researchers who defend this line of thought claim that when the Bolsheviks took power, they inherited archives, imperial libraries, private collections, and something else. Fragments. Records. References to an empire that did not fit the new narrative of inevitable human progress under a new world order. Tartaria, if it ever existed, represented everything the new regimes could not allow to be remembered. A civilization that may have reached technological and architectural heights before the narrative timeline allowed. A society that may have organized power in a way inconvenient to centralized control. And worse, proof that greatness had been achieved long before the new rulers arrived. The theory claims that archives were revised. Entire libraries were nationalized, then quietly filtered. Museums lost collections without explanation. Maps were redrawn. Words disappeared. Histories were standardized. The new governments didn't just write the future. They allegedly rewrote the past. Witnesses speak of locked rooms inside state archives. Of historians suddenly reassigned. Of references to Tartaria quietly replaced by new geopolitical labels. And of researchers who pushed too far, who were silenced, discredited, or simply erased. If this theory is true, then the purpose was not destruction, it was control. Control over perception. Control over what humanity believes it once was, and what it is allowed to become. Because if Tartaria truly existed, if humanity once built cities that defy logic, if an empire vanished, not by time, but by decision, then someone, somewhere, knows what really happened. And they chose silence. And the question remains. If power controls the present, who is truly controlling the past? If Tartaria never existed, why do the documents refuse to die? If it did exist, who decided the world should never remember it? Civilizations live and die. But only one was erased. This file remains incomplete. Not because evidence is lacking, but because someone ensured certainty would never be possible. And when truth cannot be proven, control remains unchallenged. This has been Red Sky Case File Number 013, Grand Tartaria. Forbidden History Division. Red Sky Collective. In the Shadow of the Unknown.